March 12, 2026. In the quiet hum of the master control station, Technical Sergeant Miller sits in front of his console, performing what appears to be a routine check. Clock offsets for the GPS Block 3 constellation. For most, it is a mundane, repetitive task. But for Miller, it's a matter of life measured in billionths of a second. Each of the 31 active satellites relies on atomic clocks, and even the slightest misalignment could ripple across the globe. The job is monotonous, predictable, and seemingly insignificant. Until 8:42 UTC, when everything changes. A flicker on the monitor, a single red line appears on the telemetry feed, then another. Within 4 seconds, the anomaly spreads. It isn't just the American GPS grid. European Galileo, Chinese BYU, all systems simultaneously register a nanosecond drift. Miller's first instinct is a solar flare. He checks the SOHO satellite data. The sun is quiet, no anomalies. His mind races through possibilities, a cyber attack, a software glitch, an internal malfunction. He triggers firewall isolation protocols, hands poised over the keyboard. But then, an impossible event occurs. The drift stabilizes into a perfect, flawless mathematical lock. The satellites aren't failing, they're responding. Room 4004 goes silent as monitors reveal the atomic clocks have stopped referencing their internal cesium standards. Instead, they are now aligned with an external source. Miller grabs the secure line. His voice is calm, but his heart pounds. Triangulation reveals the source of the signal. Deep space, 240 million kilometers away. The realization hits. For 13 seconds, humanity's most precise timing architecture ceases to belong to us. It belongs to 3I, Atlas. This is not a simple anomaly. It represents a total collapse of orbital security, a direct violation of the fundamental protocols governing global infrastructure. The implications are staggering. 3I, Atlas isn't a passive interstellar visitor, it is a sophisticated, intelligent surveyor capable of interacting with human technology at its deepest levels. To grasp the magnitude, we must think like a Type 2 civilization. On the Kaku scale, such civilizations harness the energy of an entire star, controlling multiple satellite constellations, each operating on different frequencies, and encryption requires computational power beyond any silicon-based system ever built. The probability that American, European, and Chinese satellites would simultaneously register the exact same nanosecond delay? 1 in 4.8 trillion. Statistically, 0. Applying the inverse square law of electromagnetism, the energy required to overpower a terrestrial transmitter from such a distance is astronomical. Yet data from NASA's Deep Space Network in Goldstone, California, reveals something more unsettling. 3I. Atlas didn't scream across space. It whispered, using the L1 civilian GPS frequency at precisely 1,575.42 MHz. At the same time, ESA stations in Argentina detected a pulse on the encrypted military band. If we analyze this through Einstein's special relativity, the signal's behavior defies physics. A signal from 240 million kilometers should take 13 minutes and 22 seconds to reach Earth. Geometry dictates it should strike satellites on the day side first, then slowly propagate to the night side. But ESA logs show zero propagation delay. The satellite directly facing 3I, Atlas, and the one on the opposite side received the command at the exact same nanosecond. Geometrically impossible, like dropping a pebble into a pond and having ripples appear simultaneously on every edge. The only plausible explanation: quantum entanglement. 3I, Atlas is not transmitting in the traditional sense. It has established a pairing, what Einstein called spooky action at a distance, with the silicon in our satellite receivers. Distance is irrelevant. The speed of light is no longer a limitation. The handshake is not just communication, it's a macro-scale quantum interaction, reaching across the solar system, integrating with our infrastructure, and rewriting the rules of information transfer. In those 13 seconds, humanity witnessed something unprecedented, a technology, or intelligence, capable of logging into our systems across vast distances, understanding their protocols, and commanding them without force or noise. 3I, Atlas is not a comet. It is a presence, observing, calculating, and now, interacting with Earth's networks. the implications are profound and chilling. Those 13 seconds were not just a disruption of satellites. They were a glimpse into a capability humanity has never encountered. Typically, GPS satellites broadcast information outward. Phones, vehicles, airplanes, all are listeners. But during this event, the satellites temporarily reversed roles. They were querying Earth, and not for ordinary movement data. The precision of the information extracted was unprecedented. Millimeter-level accuracy. At this scale, you're no longer tracking machinery, you're tracking life itself. Subtle rises and falls of the human chest during breathing. The minute variations in a person's gait, the unique motion of every individual moving through the network. Data from accelerometers, gyroscopes, and even pulse readings from millions of smart devices were collected in an instant. 3. Atlas didn't just map positions, it created a biometric snapshot of humanity. And when the handshake concluded, analysts noticed something extraordinary. A digital tag had been left behind, not on all devices, but on a carefully selected subset. High-altitude regions, including the Himalayas and the Andes, were marked. Individuals with distinctive heart rate variability, a direct indicator of stress response and neurological coherence, were flagged. 3. Atlas had filtered humans based on specific physiological traits, leaving behind a subtle imprint only detectable by supercomputers. As 3. Atlas accelerates toward the inner solar system, its electromagnetic output increases exponentially. The question is no longer what it is, but what happens when a second handshake occurs. The U.S. Naval Observatory and the UK's National Physical Laboratory confirm that this was no mere calibration error or software glitch. The precision was 0.00000001%. In forensic physics and high-precision engineering, that is absolute certainty. A digital handshake, executed flawlessly across 3 independent satellite constellations, simultaneously. For decades, humanity has expected signals from extraterrestrial civilizations in the form of primitive radio waves or laser pulses. But 3. Atlas operates differently. It didn't knock on our door, it logged into our infrastructure. Deep Space Network data shows that during those 13 seconds, data wasn't merely sent to Earth, it was uploaded. The object now knows the positions of satellites, their orbital velocities, and their transmission cycles. Because these satellites know where every smartphone and wearable device is located. 3. Atlas effectively has access to humanity's global position in real time. The implications are staggering. The GPS constellation locked onto an external source using a complex frequency pattern that defies contemporary signal processing. Space Force Command initially assumed a terrestrial cyber attack, but Doppler shifts, velocity analysis, and the physics of the signal confirm a far more alien scenario. Unlike signals originating on Earth, which exhibit predictable Doppler effects due to satellite motion, the data from 3. Atlas showed a flat, constant curve. The source was fixed 240 million kilometers away, outside the solar system's inner dynamics. Even more astonishing, the object didn't overwhelm our satellites with brute force power. It didn't scream its presence, it whispered. It spoke the exact language of our navigation systems, bypassing firewalls and security protocols with surgical precision. Independent agencies in Japan and Argentina verified 3 separate, modulated frequencies hitting at precisely the same millisecond. The odds of a natural object coincidentally matching our GPS operating protocols are essentially zero. This is deliberate engineering on a scale humanity is only beginning to comprehend. Telemetry logs reveal the event was not a simple broadcast. It was a handshake. At 8:42 UTC, 3. Atlas sent a packet of binary code that forced satellites to respond. Like a router demanding authentication from a device, our satellites, programmed to trust high-authority signals, opened their gates for 13 seconds. The administrator of the entire global positioning network was no longer in Colorado Springs. It was 3. Atlas, 240 million kilometers away. This event demonstrates fluency in our electronic language, learned over decades of passive observation. If it can handshake with satellites, it can issue commands, shift timestamps, and alter positions. The global consequences of misaligned signals are chilling. Self-driving cars veering off course, planes missing runways, synchronized power grid failing, financial markets collapsing. And yet, 3I. Atlas executed this without causing any immediate damage, a display of absolute capability, a warning from a Type 2 level intelligence that treats our most advanced security systems like toys. The event also forces humanity to ask the most unsettling question. Why does an object from the outer solar system need to monitor humans at such precision? The answer begins to emerge in the digital fingerprints left behind. It is no longer about satellites, clocks, or infrastructure, it is about us. By the end of that 13-second handshake, the story was no longer about satellites or timing anomalies, it was about the human race itself. Analysts discovered that 3I, Atlas had left behind a series of encrypted files on select devices across the globe. Dormant, silent, and undetectable by conventional cybersecurity systems, these files range from tiny kilobyte packets to complex sequences designed to interact with both hardware and biological systems. Our most powerful supercomputers have been unable to crack their encryption. Even the logic behind their existence remains speculative. Are they simple data logs, reprogrammable keys, or something far more sinister? The implications of these dormant files are staggering. If they are merely logs, humanity's privacy has been irreversibly compromised. If they are reprogrammable keys, they could grant 3I, Atlas control over entire networks, infrastructure, and even military systems. But the most unsettling possibility is biological. These files may be triggers designed to interact with their carriers when the object draws near. By cross-referencing GPS location with high-altitude regions and heart rate variability data, the object has effectively painted a subset of humanity with a digital signature. Those marked could be targeted or monitored in ways previously unimaginable, fundamentally altering the balance between human autonomy and external influence. The object is accelerating toward the inner solar system, its electromagnetic output growing exponentially. The question is no longer what 3I, Atlas is, but what it will do next. Engineers and physicists have observed that it already possesses an extraordinary understanding of human technology. Every GPS satellite, every signal protocol, every clock and frequency pattern it interacts with becomes a data stream it can analyze and manipulate. When a second handshake occurs, the consequences could extend far beyond mere observation. It could redefine how we perceive privacy, control, and even the human body itself. Consider the global scale of its reach. Smart devices, fitness trackers, even wearable medical equipment were scanned, creating a mosaic of real-time biometric data. The object knows our movements, heart rhythms, and stress responses with unprecedented precision. It can identify individuals, track groups, and analyze behavior patterns. It has effectively created a digital map of humanity down to physiological and genetic nuances. No firewall, no satellite constellation, no national defense system can prevent this level of surveillance. It is total, precise, and instantaneous. The handshake also demonstrates a fundamental shift in how information can travel. Traditional physics suggests that signals from 3I, Atlas, 240 million kilometers away, should take 13 minutes and 22 seconds to reach Earth. Yet the satellites receive commands simultaneously, regardless of position, defying the universal speed limit. Theoretical models point toward entanglement, a quantum link between the object and our silicon-based infrastructure. If this is true, distance becomes irrelevant, the speed of light, a suggestion rather than a law, and the very foundations of relativity are challenged. The global ramifications extend beyond technology. Self-driving cars, air traffic systems, financial networks, and power grids all rely on precise timing. Even a slight alteration could lead to chaos, accidents, and economic collapse. 3I, Atlas has proven it could disrupt everything, but it did not, demonstrating restraint, strategy, and an almost sentient understanding of our systems. It is a show of capability, a quiet warning from an intelligence operating on a scale far beyond human comprehension. As we observe 3I, Atlas accelerating inward, experts are watching for any sign of a second handshake. What triggers these dormant files? How will they interact with human physiology when the object nears Earth? The questions multiply faster than answers emerge. And yet, within this uncertainty lies the critical point. Humanity is no longer the passive observer. The object knows our protocols, understands our technology, and has already marked select individuals for reasons we can only speculate. The story of 3I, Atlas is not science fiction, it is unfolding in real time. And while the full implications remain unknown, one thing is clear: the era of human exclusive control over technology, data, and observation has ended. The universe has introduced a player that does not knock on doors, does not broadcast loudly, and does not obey conventional rules. 3I, Atlas has entered the game, and we are all now part of the board. Stay alert, stay informed, and watch closely as the next phase unfolds. Subscribe to this channel for ongoing updates on 3I, Atlas, and the future of humanity's most advanced systems. The handshake has begun, but the story is far from over.